Semi-finals are underway. Semi-2 just about to kick off. John Florence taking on Jordy Smith. The winner of this heat will take on Felipe Toledo in the final. And numbers starting to roll through for Jordy Smith's first wave.
Well, he had the inside position and another clean set wave. Another good start for Jordy. This time going straight into a big maneuver. 2 on the outside section. That's hard to do, to find a wave that gives you that ability. And then the wave starts to slow up. He keeps that pace, just beautiful flow. I mean, I think if you're going to see all of the competitors today, that Jordy's had kind of the best flow. You know, he's riding a little bigger board. He's so strong. And you look at this, and which one do you choose? This one or the next one?
The way he's been surfing, I don't think it's going to matter. He could catch a closeout and turn in an excellent number for one turn. That's how strong John's been through this contest, dropping excellent scores every time he's paddled out into the lineup here at Bells this year. Really found his place here at the bowl. And looks like he's connected with a pretty workable wall right now. A couple of carves to get started, just transitioning through to the inside. Recognises there's no opportunity for major turns on the outside, but sticks with it, because this is where he's collected the lion's share of his points throughout the event. Big final turns. That was a tricky section to read, though.
Yeah, and good comparison. I mean, Jordy on a little bit smaller wave, but it had better kind of performance on the outside section. A nice solid finish for John. Beautiful size set wave here, right? And guess he made the right choice, because that next wave didn't really come into fruition, so he stayed with this choice. But again, it moved off the reef a little bit. So these carves are very, very nice, good flow. But the section's a little flatter as it's in deeper water. I like how he stays with it, though. You know, he could have easily given up on it, but he stayed with it, knowing that he was going to get this double up section. And at this point, you go, okay, this is your critical section. You better make it count. And he does it. He hammers it.
Really had to get up for that quarterfinal clash with Gabriel Medina. That was a big one. Jordy Smith's going to pose some problems for John as well. But John just has the advantage of stronger performances moving through the rounds. But this is a new heat, and Jordy got the better of him on the opening exchange, you'd think. And the South African's up once again. Jordy just hanging back, staying close to that white water, waiting for this wave to do its thing. Then he gets on the attack. Another big hit on the inside there. He likes the feel of that.
Yeah, Jordy's been having such an amazing pace through every one of his heats. You feel like he's going to give you more. And you see a lot of the surfers will fade it back. They make sure that they get themselves in position, and then they fade it down. But this arc, that was gorgeous. I mean, that extra board there, even gave him that extra power. It almost looked like he was going to be too deep, but you stick with it. Once you have a quality maneuver on the outside section, might as well finish it, and then finish it strong like he does right there. So another great number going to post for Jordy Smith. It feels like both of his waves are going to be above what John Florence put on the board already.
Bit of consistency out there in the lineup now. Feels like we're going to see a lot more waves ridden in this one, as opposed to that last heat, as John takes off deep. Gets that high line drive in order to get back out in front of this wave. Swoops out on that open face. Hasn't had a wave that's really allowed him just to take off and hammer that first section, but he's got a big oncoming left here to bank into. Can't even really think of too many rides where John's failed to execute a big final maneuver.
No, but definitely when he had the opportunity to showcase that big final maneuver, he has pulled it off in a big way. Feels like, you know, you're not going to change what's been working. Nice size set wave, too. He's been on the bigger waves. But again, this wave moved off the reef on the outside section. But he has nice flow. And then finally, it steepens up. And that big final move, attacking it for John Florence. I mean, that's a double overhead wall, and he just lays into it. So another high quality, really one major move there.
Glad I made the section, and just got to surf the wave and do a couple turns. A mistake in the end, not finishing the wave, but I still got the job done. So yeah, thank God. So blessed.
the final at Bells Beach. What can we look forward to?
You're just going to lay into it and then just to actually come away with it that clean and look back down, and there's Jordy, you know, having to watch the whole thing. So it was really fun to watch the climax of that turn into the corner. A lot of speed, a lot of flair. But I'm not sure if he pulled off that inside section.
Well, I'm telling you now that it was incomplete. One of the only rides we've seen him fail to finish, Pete, in the comp, and it couldn't have come at a worse time.
That's exactly right. It couldn't have come at a worse time, you know, and we've seen these falls come into play. But that turn there, massive. That was the turn of the heat so far in my eyes.
Oh, that's one of the turns of the comp. I loved it.
Yeah, and would have loved to see him finish this one out.
Had world champions that had gone back-to-back who through injury weren't able to contest for a third straight world title. But John, I think the break served him well, Pete. He looks relaxed, he looks inspired, and he's doing some unbelievable surfing. But right now he's trying to overcome this man, Jordy Smith, who's really starting to accelerate now. Saw some extra pace in his last ride, even though it didn't go into his top two. But on this wave, he's had great opportunities on the outside. And if he can get a finish on this wave, he's going to replace that 6.67 with something pretty beefy. Moving through to the inside, gets up onto the lip, and does very well to handle a tricky section at the end of that ride, but some big turns on the outside.
The combination of major moves. You read the text from the head judge. That was one of the things that was very important to the judging staff today. Great wave choice, and this was with priority, so he was able to get this one uncontested, and it was a good choice as he gets the two moves on the outside, trying to mix it up two different angles. The one layback carve and then the driving forehand carve. Stays with it. This is the typical Bells Bowl. Get two moves outside and then get a strong finish.
It's one of the best major turn combos we've seen on that first section, isn't it?
Yeah, and a good solid finish. So it feels like it's going to be the best wave of the heat. You know, even though it wasn't one of the bigger waves, and that's what we touched on all event long, all of us have said that those medium-sized set waves run the reef the best. And there you go, the number's in.
And it is a solid one. Our competitors starting to put the foot down. Jordy Smith in particular getting into the excellent range for the first time in the event. Really good size set wave. John Florence rips into a huge carve and hangs on that rail for an eternity. Again, back up into the pocket. He's going to have a big section to work with here. Just whips one off the top. Down the line, something big's coming our way. John Florence has to get this turn right. 7 minutes to go. He needs an 8.61. Another solid finish. The crowd loves it. Anytime you see a competitor on a big wave here, attacking that end section, you're going to hear a big cheer from the crowd.
This is one of the bigger waves we've seen in this heat, and that carve on that outside section, beautiful. A little stuck on the second one though, but he was able to get through it. I mean, this end section was so important to give those judges the opportunity to give them the 8.6 needed. They're going to have a big thought about it, because this section is massive, and he hammers it once again.
Just adjusted so well. Strider Wasilewski, that's one of the bigger waves that we've seen today, and John took that first section to pieces.
Yeah, it was you know, just as that arrived, we saw the Dolphins out the back, and we could see John paddling frantically, and Jordy was just kind of sitting there, but John had obviously identified that it was going to be a really solid set. And I'd come over the forerunner of it just to see him gliding into the biggest wave of the heat so far. Definitely, you know, by twofold, and just tore into that first turn. So really well done. The inside, he must have connected well, because it looked like the beach went wild.
Well, he just bagged himself a 9.43. Strider, what do you think of that?
Yep, I'd say that's warranted. Big, huge set wave, beautiful turnout here on the outside, and then slams at home on the inside. There you go.
Not exactly pointing at you. It doesn't give you a beautiful line to be able to hit it. You got to tag the end section. You got to get there early.
Well, have a look at this positioning. So John Florence just dropped a 9.43. He's already ahead of Jordy Smith. And then out there at the takeoff zone, Jordy's slightly out of position, and John, without priority, is able to pounce on this one. Can he get rid of the 6.63 with another one of those big finishes? You'd say so. Here he goes, loading up. Here comes the section. more of the same. Digging in so hard, he's been pushing on that back foot throughout the contest. His partner Lauren watching on, she likes it.
And look, he's just out of position, and John says, oh, thank you very much.
And there's so much skill involved in that late takeoff, and John at home peak gets the opportunity to paddle into plenty of waves just like this.
And you see where he picked the spot to go on that wave. The critical section is right there in that 2 foot right off of the whitewater, and he just aimed for it, sets his rail, and just glides all the way through it. Knowing how important this section is too, had a little bobble on the bottom turn because you get, like I was mentioning, the backwash is coming out, so all the water's moving out against him. Makes it a little bit bouncy. It's not nice and clean right there. Went over the bounce, but was able to hold on and keep it together. And then the big layback gaff. And look, there's the scores in.
Well, it is another big one for John. And he increases his heat score total, 7.37.
Is he doing it again?
Yep. He is.
Wow.
Has the heat lead, gets back out there. Jordy had to duck dive this wave. John decides to kick out and get his breath back. This set just didn't have the height on the outside, and Jordy didn't get an opportunity. And he's going to be left chasing that 8.74. What a performance. What a comeback from John Florence. Jordy really had the momentum early on.
He did, and it came down to 2 waves back to back. John did get, the real difference was the 9.43. And that one was with priority. Oh, well.
What a heat.